Donna?
Sure, I have a good story. So one of the things was, and you gave me this, Olivia, was to reach out to my title company and help me with the seniors list. And so I had just sold a house for an 88-year-old woman on a street called Wooded Hills. And I reached out to that title company. I said, let me know what other seniors are in that area. Well, she didn't just run that report. She also ran a report of anybody who had died in the area, probate filings, death certificates, things like that. And there was only one in the area. It was down the street from Wooded Hills. I marketed, reached out, and I got it. And it's a big listing. Yeah.
Nice.
And it was after everything was final and done. And the son came back into town from Seattle and called me. He goes, you've been reaching out. I know you sold Eleanor's house. Why don't you come over and meet with me? And I did, and I got it.
I'm so excited for you. Congratulations.
I was like, I was so nervous. And because Olivia knows that most of my listings come from friends. And I like totally over planned this whole thing. And I even bought an outfit. I wanted to feel, empowered. And I go in because he actually told me he was going to meet with 3 agents. I'm like, shit, I'm not going to get this one. Okay, I'm going to get it, right? And I finally go in and we hit it off really well. And I walked out and I did the whole, okay, so what is it going to take for you to sign the listing agreement now? He said, do you have it with you? And yeah, and we were done. And then he goes, and I wasn't meeting with anybody else, just you. So he was teasing me the whole time. I didn't know. So there's that story.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you for implementing. And that it just goes to show like when we're prepared, this is the interesting thing. If we show up that prepared as if they were interviewing multiple people and we have the grit to ask, so what would it take for us to, right? Like they do it. So great job. Congratulations.
Can I ask a question of Donna?
Yes.
What was it that you asked the title company to search for? Probate filings, death certificates, and what else?
Oh my God. So she has an incredible system. I'm actually teaching a prospecting class today and I have her as a guest speaker. And she can look up divorces, deaths, probate, foreclosures, liens. Just give me the whole list. Empty nesters, lived in the house over 30 years.
Lived over 20 years.
Oh, she did over 30.
Okay.
Am I right, Olivia? Over 30 would be empty nesters.
Oh, yeah, that's probably going to be by area, but yeah, that should be fine.
And Teresa, what's really awesome, and I forget what state are you in?
I'm in Colorado.
Oh, I have a lot of friends there. Love that place.
Oh, well, I'm a great referral agent for you.
You are great. Yeah, no kidding. I want to go back and ski in Breckenridge. She took that list and within her system, she can say, I want to find out what neighborhood within, I live in San Jose. What neighborhood within San Jose has the highest turnover? And she gave me, I did Palo Alto actually, because I wanted to do more luxury. And she found a neighborhood within Palo Alto with only 181 homes that had a 7% turnover rate. And so, and then she found out who are empty nesters, and we checked for deaths and divorces and all that. So it's an amazing tool.
So this is number one, everybody reach out, utilize that.
Huge.
This is why we do this. So we're learning from each other. Reach out to your title companies. If for some reason your title company says that they can't pull that for you, there is a program called datazap.com. And we're going to get to this more in a bit, but you can pull, like if you own, you can pull absentee homeowners to identify investors. Okay. And the cool part is get your title companies that already probably have access, and then you're not paying any extra. That's their value proposition to you. Right. So,
and they can also, enforce, like pennies, emails, and phone numbers.
Yes. Emails and phone numbers.
So
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Olivia?
Uh-huh.
I just had a lender over here in Dallas give me a app on his phone, and it'll also, if you pull up in front of a house, it'll do all of that stuff too, but it'll also tell you, they'll refigure it and tell you how much equity's in the house.
What's the app name?
It's not working. He's resending me the link. I don't know.
Okay. So
But
when he,
I'll share it with you as soon as
yeah.
I get it, because you can take any subdivision and do all that kind of stuff. And then you can ask a house, because what they do is they just figured out what time they bought the house, interest rate, blah, 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 and they figure it out.
All right, perfect. All right, awesome. And so I love the feedback, and we're going to keep going. And I want you guys to jump in with that stuff. I'm going to share some things because this is kind of a recap of what we've done. So those things I'm going to go very quickly, and yet feel free to stop me. These slides are going to be uploaded into our open source doc, and feel free to screenshot them, right? So number one, identifying shadow sellers. And mine, I think I might have just accidentally knocked Paula out. So if you'll make sure that Paula and Linda can get in. Identify shadow sellers. So this was a text that Jonathan had shared us, and then I had shared it with you guys. Texting past clients a range of the house value, right? So feel free to take a screenshot of this. And he also shared, because Jonathan Ray took 14 listings in January. He utilized this. There's one that you can use. There's one even maybe if your admin could reach out to him with. And then reaching out to orphan clients. So those people on the other side of the transaction, right? If you sold, if you had the buyer or if you had the listing, who was on the other side of the transaction. We're going to talk about some other text and emails that you can send and Facebook messages, but so you guys have that. Another thing to identify shadow sellers. This is a golden Facebook post. Again, feel free to take a picture of this. And you've probably seen these floating around. If someone paid you cash and 10,000 over market value, would you move in 30 days? PM me. Your market may be different. So if you're in a lower price market, you might use 10,000. If you're in a higher priced market, use 50. There's actually an agent that was sharing that they did. They had somebody said, hey, I don't want to find me an off-market house. It was $1 million house. The guy said, look, I just want in. Ask them if I pay him $1.6 million. Like there wasn't even a bidding war. He just said, but if he'll do that and he'll move out in 30 days. Now, this is the cool part. This is, the guy actually said yes, moved into kind of like a dump in the area because he wanted the money more than he wanted the house. Then he'll eventually buy a house, right? So, and then a golden text. Would you be willing to sell your house to a buyer of ours? Right? Very simple. So again, these are some opportunities. Again, identifying shadow sellers. We typically, if we're not careful, we fall into, and former bold coach here, love the script. Who do you know that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate? We should use that script about once a year. As far as if we were going to use the entire, hey, we're in a contest, right? So this is another example. The reason why people aren't giving us referrals or as many referrals as we like is because we're not teaching them how to send us referrals or when to think about us. So so a good example would be, hey, we're talking to somebody, we utilize Ford. Hey, Steve, I know you know someone who's going through some type of life event. Or when you do hear in the next few months of someone who's having a baby, retiring, or maybe their kids are going to college, when you hear about that, would you give me a call? I'd love to make sure those people are well taken care of. Would you call me? Right. So are we having the conversations for the referrals? And then I have a question for you guys. I'd love for you to write this down because I want you to be thinking about this. What would I have to believe? What would I have to believe about myself in order for one closed transaction this year from everyone I closed with last year? What would I have to believe about myself in order to have one closed transaction from everyone I closed with last year? Okay. So I'm going to repeat it last time and then we'll move unless somebody says that they needed again. What would I have to believe about myself in order for one closed transaction from everyone I closed with last year? Think of it this way. Everyone wants to be the guy that knows the guy, right? I mean, think about it. You know, if somebody says, where's the best place to eat? We like to say, oh my gosh, you've got to try my friend so-and-so. So are we teaching them how to give us referrals so that they get to win? They get to be this, oh, I know a guy or I know a girl, right? So everybody wants that. All right, FSBOs. Interesting enough, and now don't use this. This is a funny, I think somebody posted this funny. I'm not saying post this on your Facebook. This is not one of those. This is just more funny with for sale by owners. Jonathan shared that he's touching for sale by owners more often now. So if you're somebody that's reaching out to for sale by owners, he said instead of touching them once a week, he's calling them every day. And in January, I think he listed like 6 of them, right? Now, if you're not working for sale by owners, ignore this, right? We're giving you 10 pieces. You're not going to use all 10, and yet you have some options here, right? Expires. Now, Luis ended up having another appointment, so she's not going to be able to be on today. But Jonathan had shared that he's using Vulcan 7 to get expired listings and for sale by, and I think he's actually getting for sale by owners from Zillow. But Luis uses LandVoice. LandVoice is much less, or very much more inexpensive than Vulcan 7. She's got 2 expired appointments this week. One from a new expired, one from an old expired. They've raised their hand. They have a desire to sell. They've already agreed to pay a commission. Sometimes what I hear when people talk about is, we don't have that many in my area. And then I go, well, how many you got? And they go 5, 17. Well, we don't need them all. If we took 1, 2, or 3 more this month because we reached out to them. So these are a couple of things. And again, we're just touching on these briefly because it doesn't apply across the board. If you want more, just let me know. You know, if we were to door knock them or call them, hey, I'm a local real estate agent. I saw your house is no longer on the market for sale. Are you still interested in selling? That is a shock value, because a lot of those, if you've ever called expireds, they go, what do you mean I'm not on the market? If you use the term expired, it doesn't hit them as hard. What do you mean I'm not on the market anymore? Oh, well, your house isn't on the market. It's no longer in MLS, right? It expired. Another quick, you know, some of the best homes don't sell the first time. They just need a new approach and a new strategy. I specialize in selling homes that didn't sell the first time. Now, maybe you're thinking about getting expireds and your drunk monkey just raised up and said, well, how can I say that? Because you're going to work with me. And I literally, like, that was my bag, right? Like, I specialize in houses that didn't sell the first time. So, you know, I've partnered with somebody, right? However that makes sense for you, but that's a great one to help them to connect. If I can get your house under contract in the next 30 days, where would you go? Right? So those are just a couple of things. Again, if that's a direction that you're interested in moving into. Number 7 that we covered, seller-specific emails. We want to target your database with seller-specific emails, texts, Facebook messages. Make sure that we are most of our markets, right? This is not the market of the past. So we want to make sure that we are doing seller-specific emails. I'm going to give you, and mine, I apologize. You linked those to the open source and I did not grab that link. Would you put that in the chat box? And I'll click on it there.
All right.
Thank you. So some of these you've seen. My question would be, have you used them? My other question would be, are you, if you don't like them, write your own. Like, it's just, are we thinking, communicating, specifically targeting sellers and using some of those pieces to identify shadow sellers? All right. And then mine, once you get that in there, if you'll let me know, I'll go ahead. I can pull that.
I'm linking them now.
Okay.
Okay. First one should be good now.
All right. Perfect. All right. Awesome. So you guys can click on that in your Again, this is in your open source, but let me see if I can make this so everybody can see it here. So this is an example of one. And it says, hey, close friends and family, I have a new option if you want to skip the hassle of selling your home this winter or spring. I can get an offer on your home from companies who want to buy it, not individuals on the traditional market. When you call, just let me know whether you prefer maximum value or maximum convenience. This means close quickly, get equity from your house in as little as 20 days. You pick your closing date, no showings or open houses, no negotiating with buyers, skip the cost time, and in some case, embarrassment of getting your home market ready. Freedom to move in your timeline, no strangers or realtors walk through your home, no risk of 2 mortgage payments. Tell me if you're interested in getting an offer in your home. I'll go to my investor relationships and companies who specialize in all this, secure the best offer for you. I can likely get you an offer in 7 days without any hassles on your part, showing your home in public. Some of you guys are going to like it. Some of you aren't. Make your adjustments, but that's speaking seller specific. Okay. Now, and again, all of these can be found in your hub. Okay. These are going to be linked in the hub if you go to the open source. Now, this one, I'm here to help. I just want you to know I'm here to help. My phone number. This is something that every one of you guys got when you first started coaching with me, or when I first got this, I'd emailed this out to you. So a lot of you've already used this one, but I do want you to be cognizant that you might make an adjustment and resend it out, or if you haven't sent it, that's going to be seller specific. And then the last one that I'm going to share with you, seller specific, is this one. I wanted to write to let you know if you don't, okay. It's important that you know homes are still selling in whatever your area. Our local real estate market is hotter than ever due to blah, blah, blah. Just this past week, and then put whatever your property's on. Even though the market is hot, there are just not that many people putting their homes on the market. Again, you make this your specific to your area. Bottom line is, when you hear the national news isn't exactly what's happening right now in our area. Here are the top questions I'm asked almost daily now. Edit these. These might not be the questions you're hearing. So anyways, that would be homes are still selling. Now, the cool part is, it's a tried and true email that works really well. I'm closing on a listing. I sent this out in January. We've got a listing under contract from this email, right? So again, seller specific things. Now he didn't respond to that immediately when I sent it out, but eventually, right? But he did respond, and we got that connected. So, okay, any questions around that piece? I think I completely, okay, here we go. Any questions around the seller specific email, any thoughts, any things that you've done with it that you'd like to share with everybody before we move to the next piece?
Quick question.
Is there?
I know bridge loans are available here in California, but that could be an option. Most people here say, yeah, I can sell, but where in the hell am I going to go with these prices? And I don't want to go into a multiple offer situation, or I'm not going to find somewhere to live in 30 days, or, so I do offer the bridge loan information. Is that nationwide or just California?
Bridge loans are most likely nationwide. It's going to be more about what they are, their credit and all that. So yeah, definitely. If you don't know what a bridge loan is, write that down, talk with your lender. This is the other cool part is, keep in mind that things that wouldn't have worked even 3 to 6 months ago in some of your markets will work now. So if you have a seller says, well, where would I go? What's the amount of money that you would be cool doing something different? And utilizing this time, you ever thought about living in the city? Or have you ever thought about, there's one seller that literally, he sold his house because they were asking so much over. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to go hang out in New Orleans. He literally, because he can do everything online. His wife teaches school from online. So they literally went to New Orleans they're planning on staying there for a few months before they can move into their rental. So are we going outside of the box going, hey, what have you always wanted to do? that if you had an extra $50,000, $100,000 you would do. Maybe this is the time to do it, right? And again, when we talk about things that we used to couldn't do is, hey, look, we can tell them, look, don't bring me an offer unless it's this. We're not going to, do inspections. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. And we don't want to move out until June. We don't, people, we've seen that, and people have said, yep, I'll take it. I'll buy it. So get really creative and out of the box. What would it make sense for you to do that at? I bet in this market, we can take advantage of it. Let's do it. All right. And then I think I interrupted somebody right after Donna. Was there somebody else that had something?
I had a question for emails, rather, like, because we have, leads for emails and those sorts of things. Is there a way to, I don't know, basically get emails from people in a certain area? Like, how would you access email information? Like I can use Redx and get a phone number, but it doesn't give me an email.
So if you talk to your title company, that's what Donna was saying, that her title company, they are able to actually pull phone numbers and emails. The app that I'm going to show you in a bit, I think it also pulls emails.
Okay.
Vulcan 7, they pull emails. Again, now that doesn't mean that's not going to guarantee they have all the emails, but there are some places that you can start pulling those emails.
Okay.
But a lot of, at least these seller specific ones, these are going to be more database related, people that you already know.
Okay.
Onesie twosies, you could do, True People search online and it's free. So onesie twosies, I mean, if you're going to look up hundreds, it'll take you forever. But if there's a specific, you could do truepeoplesearch.com and it's free. And I found that the information is usually correct.
Awesome. Everybody write that
down.
Two
People search.
Truepeoplesearch.com. Awesome. Okay. All right. Number 8, sell the benefit, not the future, or not the feature. That is supposed to be feature. That is a misspelling. So often right now, realtors are going, the market's hot, the market's hot. Okay. If I'm not thinking right now about selling, that doesn't mean anything to me. That's like us showing a home and saying, but it's a double paid window. It's a double pane window. Who cares? It's more cost efficient. It's more this. So make sure, are we selling the benefit, not the feature? This is an example that we talked about earlier on the screen. And keep in mind, it's an example. I created it. I'm sure it's got misspelled words. I just wanted you to have a visual because this is something you would actually have your lender work with you on to create. It basically, example of 2 houses. It says, if you were to buy this house at this interest rate, this is what your monthly note would be, because interest rates are so low, that's the affordability. So if you've thought about buying a larger home, you can now get into that, whatever in your area, right? Whatever's the next price point of a home, and your monthly note, because interest rates at 3% versus 4 or 5, your monthly note is like $50 different. Now, again, get with your lender. They can create that. They can help you make that piece. But basically stand out from the crowd, talk about the benefit to the seller, not the feature, okay? Number 9, there is a link on my Facebook page. James Douglas, another, I don't even know him, but I know his coach, and he had shared this on Facebook, and it was really, really powerful. At the end of the call, Mon, if you'll help me make sure that I don't forget to go back into that. But I want to show you a Facebook post that he did that was very beneficial, because it talks about, and it's something I think you can also turn into an email. It talks about why would you want to buy in, this market, and it's very well written. All right, number 10, Teresa had shared tips on how to work with only buyers who can buy in today's market. Again, in some of our markets, this is not across the board, but in some of our markets, the buyer that was ready, willing, and able 6 months ago, if they're not willing to play ball in this market, we're not a genie. We're not magicians. We have to say, unfortunately, right now, you don't have the temperament to buy in this market. Now, if you didn't, go back and listen to Teresa sets that up really well so that we're not losing people because we didn't have the dialogue to explain this to them. So Make sure that you're at the buyer consultation. Know what is the percentage of increase in your market that has increased in the last, especially those that are heavy, fast moving. What's it been increased in the last month? I think Teresa shared that, hers had increased 10% in the last month, right? So that means even if we buy here, it looks like we're paying over, but the market increases another 10%. In 3 months, you're now under the market. You might feel like you're overpaying, but in 3 months, if the market continues to do this, right? Another example would be pull the contracts on your listing or MLS, show where they were listed and what the buyer paid for it. That increase demonstrates the value of the increase. So share what they will have to do in today's market in order to win. And then, so focus on improving your ability to help them understand the market. And ultimately, it may not be the best time for them. And that's okay. If it's not, just don't spend a lot of time with people that can't win in today's market. That may sound harsh, but they're going to get aggravated anyways. They're not hiring you to show them houses. They're hiring you to help them buy. If they can't do that, then don't, right? Anybody want to share anything? Maybe they've already implemented from what Teresa shared, a quick question, anything around that before we keep moving to the next piece? I know we're moving fast. We're kind of recapping it. Anybody, anything? All right. All right. And then under promise, goodness, this is why you shouldn't do things at midnight. Under promise and over deliver is what it's supposed to be. Under promise and over deliver. So I said, we're going to give you 10 things. This is number 11. Increase your contacts. Again, our market went from a seller's market to an even tighter seller's market. So increase your contacts. So if you're making 5, or maybe 5 a day is an increase for you. Okay, get to 5. If you're at 5, increase it to 10. If you're at 10, increase it to 20. And think about it, maybe you're making your calls in the morning, and then in the afternoon, you're going to do 10 Facebook messages or 10 text messages, right? And, whatever that looks like for you. But in this market, we're going to need to make more contacts to find those sellers that want to sell and the buyers that want to buy. Okay. Number 12, again, this is where you can pull the absentee homeowners to identify investors. There's a script here for those of you that want to take advantage of this. And it sounds like this. Are you looking to expand your portfolio? We know properties are selling high, maybe even more than what they're currently worth. Are you preparing for the next market where you can buy your next opportunity? I mean, you are an investor. Does it make sense to sell while we have the opportunity to get, you to make as much money? Now, what could happen here is they'd be like, well, I'd love to sell. And yet I'm going to lose money, right? Because if I put it into a 1031 tax exchange, I have, and don't quote me, but I think, 180 days they've got to buy another property. Anyways, well, I don't want to buy another property in this market. So I'm not going to go into, because this is not who I am, but they might, instead of using the 1031 tax exchange, they might go into a REIT, REIT. So reach out to your financial planners, reach out and find out more information about the REIT, REIT, and find out how that works in your area so that you have enough information so that if an investor goes, well, I'd like to, but I don't want to lose my gains, and I can't do a 1031 tax exchange. Are you familiar with the REIT? Let me tell you a little bit about that. Okay, let me connect you with somebody. Now you may have an opportunity to identify somebody in that piece as well. Okay. All right. This last piece, or actually before, I'm going to pause before, and this is going to be the most important thing that we're going to cover today. Because if we're stuck with all this, the things that are going on in the world, if we're mentally stuck, none of the things that I shared with you today are going to help. Right? So we want to make sure that we've got this into place. Before I do that, I would love to pause. Somebody give me, like, let's get two ahas or two comments from what we've looked at in this first 30 minutes today. It's okay, I'll wait.
I really liked the teach them how to give us referrals. And so rather than just kind of asking for it, train our sphere in good ways to teach us, hey, this is when you should be thinking of me and talking to me.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. Awesome. And then we had one other, and welcome, by the way. And we had one other person that was going to share.
I'll share, Olivia.
Thank you.
Talking about the orphan clients, like I've never even thought about that. And I think that's a game changer that I've never thought about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that, do you have it in your after sale action plan? So every time you close on a house, if the other agent's not with Keller Williams, are you going, okay, let me put them in my database? Because this is the cool part is, let's say that they end up buying one of your listings. You put them in your database. 30 days after the closing, you reach out and say, hey, just want to make sure, is everything good? Now, could you get the response, no, the blah, blah broke and the blah, blah broke. And the cool part is they may not have heard from their agent. And so you get to be the hero, not by feeling bad that stuff broke. Heck, that happens. It's by going, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let me connect you with some people that can help you. Right? So love that. All right. And then there was oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And it works. I've done that for whatever reason, ever since I was first licensed. I also send them the information to make sure that their property taxes were changed. Like the bills come out in November. So in October, they get something. And I can promise you their agents are not keeping up with them. And I've had the buyers on my listing give me 5-star reviews online without solicitation, simply because I was helpful to them after the sale, and they couldn't, and their agent disappeared.
Yeah.
And I do get transactions from that.
Yeah.
Because they'll refer people to me, and they've also called me to list their house 3 years later.
Yeah. Perfect. Love it. And then I did want to, I know I had reached out to, we've got two Amandas on here. Either Amanda, because I know that, like, Amanda, you're doing a lot of things on social media right now. If you could maybe give us your CNN version of what's working to attract people. And then if you're not, like, if you guys aren't following each other on social media, you probably should, because you're all in different parts of the area, and then you can learn from each other. But Amanda is in, we'll start Amanda Knight. She's in Dallas, Texas. She's doing a lot with social media, and she has a builder. If you'll kind of give us just your CNN version of, like, what's working, what are you utilizing? We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so on social media, I have seen my social media explode ever since COVID, and have been getting the majority of my business and agent referrals through social media, specifically Instagram. So I am finding that when I show up on my stories every single day consistently and authentically, people are gravitating towards that. I'm posting polls for engagement. And if I post something like, maybe I do a quiz, like, what are the things that you need for a down payment on an FHA loan? Something simple like that. I'm giving like 4 answers, and then one, the right one. Anybody that answered it wrong, I'm sending them a private message, because you can see everybody that voted on it. Or if you're doing like a poll with 2 different options, are you looking to buy or sell this year? And then they click on one. I'm reaching out to all those people specifically through a DM. And it's like, people actually like it. It's not a cold DM because they voted on your story, right? So I'm doing that. And then also I really dove into Instagram Reels, IGTVs, and I've gotten a lot of engagement through that. Don't miss hashtags. So everybody is like, are hashtags a thing in the past? No, they're not. I make them specific to my market. And even if I'm only getting like a few likes or a few views, like that's 10 more people that saw my post versus, yesterday when I didn't post it. So I would say just show up consistently on social media because it works. And if you're not following me on Instagram, feel free to. That's where I am. That's just kind of like my jam. I love Instagram, and my handle is @homewithamanda.dfw. So feel free to follow me on there. And if you need anything, DM me. I love that platform. So I'm always happy to share anything on that.
We might even invite you back for one of our Thursdays where maybe you lead an Instagram class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat box, and then I'm actually going to disappoint some people because I'm not going to have you talk about your builder right now just because for space of time.
Yeah.
But I do know that several people would love to hit you up about that. So we may do we may look at schedules, and maybe we can do an Instagram and then pick your brain about builders.
Sure.
All right. And then the other Amanda, she is in South Dakota. South Dakota. Okay. I always want to say North. South Dakota. And she has, her listings has really blown up in a market of like, how many houses are on your market right now?
There's only 78 houses in the market, and normally it's like 500.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why, so I'd love for, cause I know like you call it a for sale by owner, which is outside of your comfort zone, and you listed that. So what are you seeing that's working for you? Again, quick version for us.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I think Ignite helped. So if you guys haven't done that, that was just like a nice little boost. That like gets you going.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, like I do a lot of stuff on social media as well. I usually use Facebook and like Snapchat. So I kind of do something similar to what Amanda does, like for the Instagram, but like I'm doing that on Snapchat. And people are seeing the real you. And there's a lot of people that I kind of forget that I have on there. And then they reach out to me and they're like, hey, I'd love for you to, sell a house. Cause I put a lot of house stuff, but I do have a lot of like regular, just everyday type stuff. Cause people don't want to see, everything about real estate all the time. We got to be real. So it's just kind of like, your billboard. And I think that's how I'm getting like referrals and that type of thing. But also when I get a listing, I'm really I'm doing Facebook ads to try to get more people, of course, open houses, and we have to do it in a specific way because houses are going under contract within a day. So we have it in there, like we will take a couple days to go over reviews and that type of things, or offers, excuse me. So that's kind of how we're doing that. And basically just, I'm sending out postcards. I'm just like really trying to hone in on the listings. And even a lot of these buyers, we just have to think differently and think outside the box to try to get more. So we're just trying to work overtime.
Yes. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. It's what, we do need to operate differently in this market.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to,
Olivia, can I share something real quickly?
Yes.
So if you are in, I think it's Texas, Georgia, and Colorado, I think those are the states that Homeward is in. And I know it was talked about at Family Reunion. And so I have been pushing that, and I've gotten so many more people reaching out to me. I haven't closed with them yet, but I do know agents who have closed with them. But basically it's a buy with cash option. And then you just not refinance it. You just buy it back from Homeward with a loan. And so if you're in any of those states, go to homeward.com and look into it, because it's just a way to, one, start up conversations, and then two, get a creative way to get your buyer secured in a home.
Yeah. So, and those states were Texas?
I think it's Texas, Colorado, and Georgia.
There's also Home Partners of America, and I know they're in a lot of other places as well.
Okay, Home Partners of America. Awesome. Perfect. And that's when we do these group calls, we learn from one another. So awesome. All right. Now
Amanda, I'm I'm so sorry, Olivia, but for both Amandas, what would you suggest the social media aspect of it is daily, every second day, like not to bombard? How would you think it's a fair?
I'm actually going to pause that. That's a great question, and we are not going to have enough time for them to go into that piece. And I may end up having you both do back on and talk about the social media. There are young ones. Not everybody on here is young, but yeah. Now the Instagram and that, because it is a great question, and yet I want to make sure that we cover these last pieces. But I didn't recognize your voice. Who asked that question?
It's Valerie.
Okay, Valerie. Okay, perfect. So, because I'm going to make sure. So, Mon, write that down so we can make sure we get that answered for Valerie. Okay. So, more importantly than any of these things, we want to focus on the B. Think the bold law: be, do, achieve. If we aren't being powerful, then we won't do the activity. So then we don't achieve the results we desire. Jordan Freed, very powerful MAPS coach, his cadre and him developed this thing called state meter. Take a screenshot of this, save it on your phone. We also are going to have it in the open source so you can print it out. This is going to be one of the most powerful tools in our arsenal in coaching moving forward. First, let's start with what is a state. So Jim Quick, the author of Limitless, defined the word state as a snapshot of the mood of your mind and body. It is what you feel in this exact moment. All states typically break into roughly one of two categories: a blessed state and suffering states. Blessed states are the states that we ultimately desire: gratitude, joy, happiness. Suffering states are the ones we typically desire to avoid: anger, depression, frustration, right? Negative states. All states exist in one or two, blessed or suffering, and within each there are varying intensity. So you'll see the energy. Are they calm to charged? Calm to charge, right? Think mildly frustrated. That's a calmer, a suffering state. Or you might be in an all-out rage, which is a very intense or charged state. That opposite is true for blessed, right? So let's take on the quality of our life. The quality of our life boils down to the quality of the states that we are regularly experiencing. Another way to say this is how you feel is your life. So what Jordan shared, this is through his experience, through coaching, and what he's learned with Tony Robbins, is that most people only experience about 10 to 12 states consistently. As you're a coach, I want to know, where do you live? So this week, you're going to print this off, and you're just periodically going to ask yourself, hey, where do I feel? Circle it, dot it, whatever. We want to, again, it's typically 10 to 12 places where we routinely live. We might have those highs or lows that aren't routine, but we're looking for, where do we consistently live? So where are you at emotionally? Where's the snapshot of your mood consistently? Ask yourself, which of these states do I regularly, consistently experience? So number one, figuring this out so that we can start to create a plan for you to move to the area of the state meter that you desire to live in, if you aren't already there. Or maybe you are, but how do we advance it so that you are in more charged up, blessed states, right? Think to, again, the classic bold, point far. Programming leads to our thoughts, which leads to our feelings, which leads to our actions, which leads to our results, which lead back to our programming. Programming the software of our mind is what is running the states that we regularly experience. The more we can be aware of where we are living, the more opportunity we have to reprogram, recondition you to live in the emotions that you ultimately desire, right? None of us desire to be a pissed off, unhappy millionaire, right? Right? To have all these resources, the world at our fingertips, and yet live in our entire lives in a suffering state of being miserable. Think about other countries. The US, well, I won't even get into that, but we have so many things at our fingertips, and yet what state are we living in emotionally? So, second, this is just an awareness tool that you're going to use in real time. If you're going to have a great life, you've got to master the MOD, moment of decision. You got to master the MOD, the moment of decision, and to master your BOD, which is your physical health, right? So those are the two pieces. We learned from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that we worked on last quarter about this model called the proactive model. We have a stimulus and a response. In the middle, it is freedom to choose, right? So when you get a stimulus, you might look at it. Where am I living at right now? Take a minute, moment of decision. How am I going to react to this, right? Because like Gary says, first you make the choice and the choice makes you. That ultimately determines most of the decisions that we make. See, we aren't really taught that we're in control of the states we experience. In fact, most of us operate like the states that we experience are like colds. They are things you catch, not things you produce. That's not actually.
I'm trying to take my class with me as I leave the house.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So between stimulus and response, you have that freedom to choose. That's your greatest power. So what does that look like in this? If you look at the ingredients of a state, it boils down to 3 things. Your physiology, meaning your body, right? Think of it as the language of your body, your focus, and language, which is the words that you're using to describe an experience. So when we look at physiology, all of us can describe what somebody looks like when they're in a depressed state, right? Physically, shoulders slumped, their heads down, they're looking at the ground, shallow breathing. Harvard psychologist Amy Cuddy, and you guys might want to write this down. She did a TED talk called Presence, Presence. It's how you can use your body to drive your feelings. She also wrote a book on that. We have come to know it is much easier to act your way into feeling than to feel your way into action. So if you don't feel like doing something, do it anyways, then you'll feel like doing it, right? Now, the same is true when we look at a person we would consider blessed, a charged state, a person who is enthusiastic. How does a person who is enthusiastic use their body, right? We can do the same thing. We can adopt the posture or body language of that desired state. All right. Now, focus, the second thing. Focus equals feeling. We've all had that experience, right? In traffic, 4 lanes of traffic, and you've got somebody, and I'll pay the money to KW Cares. You got some asshole whizzing in and out of traffic, right? And even by saying asshole, it's because I've made a determination about, right? About what they're, now, would I still have called them that if I knew that they had an emergency, they were racing to get somewhere, or something had happened to them? No, right? So whatever you focus on is what you're going to feel. If we feel that person is a jerk, we might do things to slow them down. If we interpret as an emergency, we may feel differently. Focus equals feeling. So ultimately, what controls focus is the questions that we ask, that we habitually ask ourselves. Now, the challenge is that most of us are not aware of the questions we're asking ourselves. So we've got to control this. We've got to look at the questions we're asking ourselves. Number 3, we talked about is our language. Language. There's an idea called transformational vocabulary. The words you use to describe an experience become the experience. So if you're walking around talking about everything's crazy, right? This is crazy. That's crazy. The market's crazy. Maybe substitute that word with amazing. I'm sure many of you have had me stop you when I'm frustrated with something. And we go, wait a minute, how do we rephrase it? I'm fascinated. The word creates the experience. Instead of saying, I'm so busy, say, I'm productive. I'm taking territory. The words become the experience. Now, if that hasn't blown your mind enough yet, or if I haven't talked quite fast enough, I really do want to make sure we get you on time. And yet this is really, I think, especially with everything going on, for you to understand we have control of that state. The past, present, and future only exist in language. That means the past, present, and future only exist in the internal conversations that we have about them in our head. So you can literally rewrite your memories, your feelings around an event, simply by changing the language. So those are all the ingredients that make up a state. So when you think about it, how do I use this, right? How do I master the moment of the decision so that I make the decision that aligns with my vision, with becoming the person that I desire to become? Number one, you do your challenge. You're going to print this off or take a photo, put it on your phone, and just continue to ask yourself, what am I feeling? How am I feeling? Am I in a charged state? Becoming awareness, right? The first step to any great change is awareness. The second step, ownership. Ownership means that you are producing that state based on what you're focused on, what you're interpreting, and how you're using your body, the language that you're using in your head, right? So you aren't catching that state, right? Nobody sneezed and you got caught a cold. It's what you're focused on. So what we again may believe, maybe we're taught that it's this external world driving our internal world. Actually, it's not. And think about that blame game. You blame others, your past, present, and yet ultimately, when we finish doing all that, we go to, well, it's really me. I'm to blame. Blame is not an effective strategy to change your life. It doesn't work. So you have to take ownership over what you feel. If you own where you are today, you get to own where you're going to be. And then the last thing is practice. So if you're aware that we're in anger and we're doing that through the way we're using our body, we're doing that through what we're focusing on, the language we're using, well, then the question becomes, what do I desire to feel? Maybe you desire to feel gratitude or joy. Okay, how does the person in gratitude or joy use their body? What do they focus on? Right? Remember, these questions control focus. So what are the top 3 things you're ultimately in gratitude for? Take a moment, write it down. Take a moment to feel it. You'll notice that you start to shift. The second use of this tool is to master the MOD, moment of decision, to control how you feel, thus mastering the ability to make the effective decision that aligns with your vision so you become the person you desire to be, right? So that's kind of what we're going to be working on and working with together, so that, are we moving here, or if we're here, are we moving here? So how do we take control? We choose effective decisions. We manage our state in real time by looking at where we are and where do we intend to be. And then we use these ingredients to put ourselves in the states that we ultimately desire, the ones that serve us, that empower us to go out and serve the world to make it a better place. All right. So we've covered a ton. I've got 3 minutes. And I know it was fast. This won't be the last time you hear about it. And yet I wanted to get this to you. So who is taking on the challenge of using this tool this week to identify their states? If you will, type your name in the chat box so that I know you're in. And then as you're in the chat box, typing your names in, what questions do you have? And now, whether it's about this, or if we can even go back and pick up Valerie's question, whatever. But what are the ahas, or what are your thoughts around this as we're wrapping up today? I know I went fast, so I didn't go that fast. What you get?
I'm constantly in a blessed state. Like I wake up knowing it's going to be a great day, because the alternative is not waking up. So I'm constantly in a blessed state. I liked the transformational language that you talked about, and I'm going to watch the TED Talk.
Perfect. All right, who else? An aha thoughts around what we just looked at?
I'm a big fan of the state meter. And I put in the chat, there's a book called Mind Over Mood that is very helpful. I think it should be required reading for everyone on the planet, because it not only helps you identify why you react the way that you do. When you know why you're doing things, then you're able to make changes. The other thing is that in real estate, understanding why your client is doing things so that you react appropriately, like it helps you identify what is the underlying issue. Like they're telling you one thing, but you can go, yeah, but that's not really the problem. This is the problem.
Mhm.
And then they go, oh, yeah, you can solve that for me. It's very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And realizing, and I love that, you know, other people's state, somebody can be in another state. We don't have to take on that that's our state or get triggered by it. Or if we do,
Right.
recognize, woo, right?
Right.
If I was circling, that's an emotion I just felt, right? So how do I go in and change these pieces?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you know why you're reacting that way, then you're able to change your reaction. Because if you don't know why you're reacting like that, you're going to continue to react that way.
That's right. Well, and then you get to even change it. Because you know, a lot of times we focus on the why. It is absolutely, there are sometimes we need to know the why, and sometimes we just go, you know what, I feel like this. I feel funky today. Let me move my body, my physiology, as somebody that is having a great day. It's amazing how something like that can transform your day, because it gives that responsibility, that ownership. It's huge. And Luis, you had a question. Would you recommend that book for tweens? Linda, is that something that?
Yes, actually, the reason I know about this book is I have a child that is a genius, and he was accepted to Harvard when he was 16. So Harvard, AKA pressure cooker for overachievers. And they tell you during parent orientation that half of the students will be in the psychiatric, like they'll be in counseling by the end of the first semester. And they're right. And I looked at my child and was like, yeah, you're going to be one of them. And it was the book that the counselor used to help them identify why are they reacting like they were, because it just created such huge anxiety, because you know, when you get into a pressure cooker situation like that, none of those people have ever failed at anything.
Well,
they, you know, and they don't know how to deal with what, and their idea of failure is a 99.
Well, and how many,
you know,
how many of that you think about realtors, right?
Exactly.
We're in a pressure.
Exactly.
It's an amazing place for us to be. So this is the thing, because again, my intent is always to begin on time and end on time. It is 11:30 Central. So this is where we're going to wrap. This is my time. Feel free though, reach out to me, text me, email, whatever. And then be ready, you know, next week when you come to calls, bring your have your state meters with you. And yes, I know it's kind of blurry on the screen that you're seeing. So we are going to email that out when we email out this recording. You can also find it. We're going to have it uploaded as a PDF in your open source. You can get it from there as well. All right. All right. That's our time. Have an amazing weekend. We're out.